Greetings to everyone. We are here to present our paper to you. However, before we begin, I have a small task for you. Since you are sitting here since long, you must be thirsty. Let's have a sip of water from a bottle nearby. But there's a challenge. You cannot use your fingers to unscrew the bottle. Let's try. Difficult, wasn't it? There's another small task. Close your fist and try to type on the keyboard on your laptop. The challenge is try and type some words and not randomly. How easy or difficult was it? Tough again, right? This was the inspiration for us to write this paper. How to include differently abled community for research purpose. Along with me is Aniket Kaddare and I am Gitika Singh, and we are here to present our paper to you today. In so many years of my research experience, I have never come across any research where we had to include the differently abled community. In fact, however, we've realized that they are a significant part of our society. They contribute to our GDP and economy, and they use the same products as us. Then why not understand the specific needs that they have from different products in terms of interacting with those products? Yeah. But with almost nil knowledge about this community, we did not know how to conduct research with them and how to engage with them, and hence we could not carry out the research in the usual way. So we undertook this task of developing capabilities to conduct research with differently abled consumers. This will enable the research fraternity and our clients to include this TG in any kind of product development work with more confidence. As soon as we started, we knew this was not a normal research, so we had to do things differently. So as a first step, we undertook the desk research, wherein we tried to understand about the different types of physical conditions. Yeah. The second step was to interact with the relevant experts. And these experts included the medical fraternity, the social experts, and the accessibility experts and the sorts. The third one was, of course, talking to this TG in the form of immersions. Yeah. One thing was sure, we had to be very flexible and adopt a very iterative approach. That's because we were gaining a lot of knowledge in the process, and we had to feed it back into the process so that we could fine tune as we went along. Yeah. Example, while we started talking to the TG to understand the kind of challenges they had in interacting with different products, we realized they had a lot of hacks and jugards in place, and it was important for us to understand that. Similarly, in the desk research, we realized we had to understand the kind of government policies that are in place for them.
We identified some standard protocols which can be adopted at various stages while conducting research in this domain. We shall now decode these one by one as we go along. We need to understand that respondents need to be selected as per the relevance of the condition to the product category. For example, voice assistance on mobile devices is more relevant to quadriplegics who may have difficulty typing versus paraplegics who have fully functional hands. We realized that picking the TG with a higher order condition is better suited to cover all need gaps and challenges better. For example, we met a quadriplegic who had adapted technology to create a smart home. She could now operate fans, lights and doors, and even adjust the height of her bed with the use of simple voice commands. We realize that with years of societal rejection, most differently abled individuals are closed off and apprehensive of interacting with strangers. In this scenario, we had to deploy snowballing and rapport building measures to ensure that we connect with them and improve our strike rate. In certain cases, including caregivers can also help us establish and create a connect with them. It is important that the purpose of research be explained to them upfront, while also reiterating that they themselves are likely to benefit with more inclusive products. This can prove to be a key motivation to ensure that they participate in any research. The ideal scenario for us is to meet them at their own house. Not only is this more convenient and comfortable for them, but also helps us observe them in their natural environment and also how they cope with their challenges with the help of various hacks and solutions. For example, we met one such respondent who had installed handles at key places in his house, such as the bathroom. He had also installed ramps at the entrance and widened the doors to make them wheelchair accessible. In case we still have to meet them at a central venue, one needs to ensure that the venue is accessible and arrangements need to be made accordingly. I remember one of the persons we met saying to us, "It is very important for me to be seated at the same level as others because you feel respected. A wheelchair gives you dignity and makes sure that the others don't look down upon you." Communication is an important element during the interactions, and one needs to be very skillful and fluid with their engagement with them. Empathy is the key to success. For example, a respondent might express their frustration while using a simple product like soap, or when they talk about reaching a particular building and only to find out that it does not have a lift. Be flexible to accommodate small breaks for things such as passive exercises. Do not stare. A respondent mentioned to us, as soon as somebody walks into a room, the first thing that they do is that they simply keep staring at my wheelchair while they ignore me completely. It is upsetting for us. Do learn to catch cues. Somebody might be looking for an aesthetically pleasing product and not just a functional one, or something like a table that can hide their chair in plain sight. As a moderator, treat them as equals. They do not need or want our sympathy. Be respectful as well. I remember meeting a person who mentioned having told to buy a ticket by, for her wheelchair while on a bus. She went on to ask me if I had ever been asked to do something like that for my feet. In another case, a cab driver demanded that she herself keep her wheelchair in the boot. How is that possible for somebody who cannot move without a wheelchair? A simple apology at the start can be disarming and can help take care of any verbal slip ups later on. Use of projective techniques is ideal since it has the ability to take out any past trauma and awkwardness out of the equation. Learning about their disability through some homework and self-replication will help us understand how they go about doing simple tasks and therefore develop empathy. Do not make them relieve their trauma in any scenario whatsoever. Take an indirect approach or employ proxies while asking for demos if needed. We realized that asking a quadriplegic to show us how she types made her visibly uncomfortable and self-conscious, and we realized that we needed to make a switch to instead asking her how she would go about explaining someone else how to use technology for typing.
A lot of answers will lie in the skilled observations. In fact, as small thing as noting down their range of handling, yeah, or the manner of handling small sized objects, yeah, such can actually prove to be groundbreaking when it comes to designing the products. And the knowledge, when clubbed with design thinking principles, can actually help the designers to know the exact point of intervention in order to make the product inclusive. Deploying these protocols can be very useful for almost any kind of products. Yeah, categories such as gadgets, durables, spaces, furniture, any interactive devices. Yeah, it can be deployed for any of these items. In fact, developing these SOPs have opened new doors for clients, for designers, for marketers to more confidently interact with this community and develop more effective, inclusive products. It is important to know that this community has actually reached sky heights. They outperform us in many ways. They are more forgiving, they're more experimental, they're more jugadu, and they're more curious. By including this TG, we can actually harness their very unusual skills and make our products become useful for a much larger audience. What started off as a small research task to understand this community for us actually turned into a life lesson. It's almost like a wake up call for all of us marketers and researchers that what kind of positive impact we can have on so many people around us. So, the key learning was understand them as people first and then as consumers. And a small hack in a bottle which can actually help them to drink water without using the fingers, have a flip open cap. Thank you.
नहीं कुछ खास है तू बहती लहरों सा आजाद है तू
Right. I have the Q&A window open here in case questions come up as we talk along. But thank you so much, guys. It was an extremely humbling video to watch. And I must say that a lot of things that you did point out in the way you did the field work, obviously it was highly empathetic, but it's not necessary that necessarily obvious to people and obvious to us when you're doing interviews, when you're doing field work with these people, field work with people differently able. Now, I would love to understand that, while you have developed a framework which seems to be, the right way, the empathetic way of doing fieldwork with differently abled people, what was the trigger? Was there a project that you were working on? And I would love to understand, some of the insights that you've got about differently abled people, and what did you do with those?
Yeah, that's an interesting and a very, I could see that question coming. Yeah. Year was a very defining year for all of us. It made us do a lot of introspection, and a lot of us had a lot of gratitude for what we have today. And in one of such introspection is when, Aniket and I kind of thought through and internally voiced out that we need to understand this section of society. They are so lesser known to most of us. And that's when we actually kind of undertook this project internally. And in terms of using this insight, like I said in the paper as well, it can be deployed for almost any kind of categories. It's all about making things inclusive and need not be specifically made for this section.
Right. So interesting. So we do a lot of work with the what you call the DNI community as well. I can see more questions popping up. So for instance, Unilever has taken a task for us to work with more differently abled people as employees, as partners that we work with. So I don't know if you know, but at Unilever Airlines, for instance, 20% of our staff in India, for instance, is differently abled. So it's a very humbling experience working with them. Now, one of the things, so the question of how the framework is being leveraged, we've already asked that in a way. The other question that came to my mind when I was listening to your presentation and in your paper as well, which said that start with an apology. I was a little surprised to see that. So can you elaborate why should one start with an apology and what exactly should one be apologizing for?
Yeah. So we realized that when we were talking and interacting with them, a lot of respondents were in a particular condition and they get irritated. And this came especially from the experts we were interacting. You have to just treat them as equals. No need to give special importance to them. Yeah. So that is the apology we are talking about. Don't end up using incorrect terms. Don't end up using incorrect behavior. That was the reason why you apologize in the beginning and kind of tell them, if I indulge in any such thing, I apologize right in the beginning. So that's the apology about.
Interesting. So I can see questions coming up on chat and Q&A as well. So, but one question that sort of, if I've raised a couple of questions that have come in the similar space, which is that what is the sort of preparation and training or, whatever sort of thing was given to the moderators who did field work with them and the researchers who worked with them? Was there a lot of training? Was there a sort of a bit of an orientation provided to them? Did that work very well, or did you learn a lot along the way as well?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, yes, we did learn a lot along the way, but I can also say now we are empowered with all those learnings. But yes, there is a need of a lot of involvement. And one of the two key things are sensitivity and empathy. As long as you have that in place, I think it's easy to, learn the skills of what to moderate, how to ask questions, how to put forth your curiosity and things like that. But yes, there has to be some round of orientation. I would say for that matter, most of the projects, have to be with some kind of moderator briefing. So yeah, this was not atypical from that perspective, but yeah, just the right things to be put in place.
Okay, so one last question, something that I struggle with a lot of work that we do with the DNI, sort of a community in Unilever as well, is that the term that is used for them is different. And what happens is when you do work across the world on this, sometimes you're using a term which is insensitive in some culture, but perfectly acceptable. So for example, should you call people with disabilities, or should you call differently abled people, or handicap? So what are the right words to use is in itself is a bit of a, learning, because you might say differently able and people might get offended and they would prefer the word disabilities to be used. So Do you have any learnings or any insights on or other terms that they prefer and feel are more empathetic towards them?
A very good question. In fact, initially we struggled and we realized the moment you use the medical term, you call them quadriplegic or paraplegic or, muscle degenerative disorder, whatever. Yeah. So that is definitely more acceptable. And the best part is, like we said, they're so forgiving. Once you establish that rapport, they are like, it's okay. We understand. We keep facing a lot of rejection, even otherwise, so we understand the motive is good behind your talking to us. So yeah, but typically the correct medical term helps a lot. And for that is where you need the desk research.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was an interesting insight. So apart from thanking you for this paper, for the MRS and presenting it to the audiences, we also must thank you, genuinely for the work that you're doing in this space. It'll go a long way in the initiative that you've started, and this is definitely something new that you've started. So thank you very much, and we are really honored to listen to what you're doing. So thank you. I think I'll call Rakshit